row 6 of the Diamond Ridge hat pattern is basically taking the tops of the clusters that you worked in the previous round and joining them together. So you're taking, if you can, sometimes it's hard to make them out, but you're taking the top points. See how this one comes up and they meet at this cluster that you did in the previous round, and this row here comes up and meets up in this cluster, and you're going to be tying them together into one cluster in row 6. Now, I'm left-handed, so that may add to some confusion in understanding this, but hopefully you can kind of understand the mechanics of how this row works, and even if you're right-handed, maybe can put this video to good use. So what we're going to do, here's my chain 3 at the beginning of the row. I'm going to drop down to the one behind it from the very last cluster we did in the last row, and I'm going to do the first portion of the front post double around it and to work the cluster, and then I'm going to go over here to this point on the next cluster and work the front post, the rest of the front post around it, so that you can do the cluster. Now, ordinarily throughout the rest of the pattern, you're going in at the end of a cluster that you make and doing a double crochet behind it so that you can give a backing so there's not a giant hole in the hat. In this case, the very first one, you're not going to do that just because your chain 3 counts as that stitch. So you're going to go ahead and do a double crochet next. Do here just so that you can work yourself over to the next cluster you're going to do. Then you're going to do another front post double around the second cluster you just worked around and around the next cluster to tie them together. So now you've just taken this point and join them together here to make another diamond, and then you're going to go back behind it into the top loops back behind here, and you're going to do a double crochet in that as well. And that's what I was talking about, that will now give you sort of a back in behind this diamond so that you don't have as much of a gaping hole there. So then you'll do your next double crochet. I can get it to go in there. That just kind of moves your yarn forward. And then cluster top of the next 2 together. And you'll work that entire way around row 6. So hopefully that gives you an idea of kind of how it works, is tying the clusters together and then doing double crochet behind them. Like for example, when I go to tie this cluster with this cluster, I'll end up going back in behind into this hole here behind it and doing a double crochet out so that right here there's not a hole. And then I'll do another double crochet in this hole here so that the yarn progresses on forward around the hat and I can do my next cluster, if that makes any sense.